Welcome to the second installment of Let's Talk Business. This is just a collaboration between Youth Capital and JobStarter to really get the conversation going around small businesses and how we can start driving employment for young people. The topic for today is incentives for employing young people, and we hope that you guys will find it useful. We've got a great lineup of panelists today, and I'm going to hand over to them to introduce themselves in a moment, because I'm sure they'll do a better job than me. But just a reminder to please feel free to drop any questions in the chat while we're having the discussion. And we will get to them as soon as we can. So Youth Capital is a youth-led campaign with an action plan to address youth unemployment and to shift gears on youth unemployment through this shared agenda. JobStarter is a virtual career coach and recruitment portal aimed at improving the employability and well-being of job seekers and supporting organizations to find and nurture that young talent. And so on that note, I think I'm going to hand over to Simone from JobStarter as one of our panelists today to maybe add a bit more about herself and her work. Thanks. Over to you, Simone.
Thanks so much, Chris. Yeah, great to be here today. My name is Simone, as you said, from JobStarter. I'm the content and research manager there. And we're really glad to be here today. We've been working on a skills development toolkit over the last few months, trying to make sense of the various incentives that are available for businesses looking to work with young people. And it can be quite an overwhelming and complex space. So we are really excited to try and provide some clarity and guidance for all of those listening today. So thanks for having us.
Great. Thanks so much, Simone. Zinzi, you're next. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go for it.
All right. My name is Zinzi Sigonyela. I enrolled at Duncan-Williams College in 2019. I'm currently doing my in-service at Amathuba Collective as Human Resource Manager.
Thank you so much, Zinzi. Over to you, Emily.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Rudolph. I am the co-founder and director of Amathuba Collective. Amathuba is an organization that supports young people in work experience programs. So we focus on, youth, learnerships, and young people from TVET colleges who need to do in-service training. And we support them holistically throughout their journey to really not only gain relevant experience, but also align with their personal development and personal growth. They need a lot of support in order to make sense of the world of work, and we support the young person as well as the host in making this journey as impactful as possible.
Great, thanks. Really excited by all the women on the panel today. Emmanuel, do you want to introduce yourself? You're on mute.
My name is Emmanuel, and I'm with Dream Worker on the WorkLink program, where we help colleges place the students to complete their studies so that they can qualify for the diploma. And I'll be talking mostly about my experience and exposure within the placement space, dealing with the employers in terms of their appetite to take on learners and hopefully add value in the journey of the student.
Great, thanks so much for joining us, Emmanuel. As you can see, host of expertise and experiences on the panel today, and so I'm going to get straight into it because we only have an hour and we've got lots to get through as always on these things. But thank you to everybody who's joining us today, either online or on the Zoom link. It was really great to have you all here. So the first question I really want to tackle is, why did we have this panel? Why did we choose to speak about this? A number of things you could speak about in youth unemployment. So I think what's important to mention up front is that there are a number of incentives available to encourage businesses to employ young people. But I think both for businesses and young people, it can sometimes be really confusing to find out, what are these options? How do you make sense of it from these options from a business point of view? What is your capacity as a small business to even, do what's required to meet the minimum requirements to access these incentives? And so we've curated this group of experts today to really share information on these incentives. How these incentives make it more affordable for businesses to hire young people, and what the benefits are to the business of using these incentives and accessing them. So we are going to go to a poll for those of you on Zoom, and I'm sure that my amazing Kristal is going to launch the poll. And the poll on Zoom is, how confident are you with your knowledge about youth unemployment incentives? 1 being very confident, 2 being somewhat confident, and 3 being not confident at all. So I'm sure that the poll will be launched soon. And while you guys are filling in those poll little quick checking questions, I've got I've got a question for Emily. Emily, can you describe some of the incentives that are available for businesses looking to employ young people? What are the most common ones or the most popular ones amongst businesses?
So I think the incentives for small businesses particularly are in the additional hands. So having extra capacity to do their work, for businesses who can't necessarily pay additional salaries, is probably the main one. Having said that, it needs to come with certain support structures to make the additional person or additional hands also really effective. I know for BE purposes, there are incentives and there are skills development incentives as well. But I think that the biggest one for businesses and citizens of South Africa is to really empower and develop young people to address the youth unemployment issue. I guess that's the biggest incentive and benefit for all of us.
Thanks, Emily. And so, as a follow-up question for Simone, with so much available, how do businesses go about making a decision on which route to take?
Yeah, thanks, Kristal. I think what we've discovered through putting together the skills development toolkit and speaking to various professionals in the space is that as a starting point, it's really important to be clear on what your strategic objectives are as a business, and how these types of incentive programs can fit into that. So, for example, are you looking to do it for, improving your BE rating? Are you looking to build talent, additional capacity to tap into some of the financial incentives that are available? So that's an important starting point. It's also really essential that organizations understand what the resource requirements are for implementing some of these programs. And I think we'll hear more from Emmanuel and Emily later that, oftentimes I think these programs are seen as a way to access cheap labor, but we know that that's not actually the case. There are quite a few requirements, and it does also, there is an expectation that organizations are going to provide professional development to these young people, and that takes time and resources and capacity. And so organizations, before diving into any of these programs, I think need to be aware of that and check that they actually do have the resources to implement these programs.
Yeah, I think you make a good point, Simone. Even big corporates sometimes will, act this as a way of, as you say, getting cheap labor without really thinking about what the impact should be for the young person, and how in the long term investing in these young people actually benefits your business. So I think, on that note, Zinzi, what do you think is the benefit of a business hosting a young person for a work learning experience, what do you think is the benefit for the business of hosting this young person, given the fact that it can be obviously can put a strain on resources within the company?
Okay, I'm going to speak from my own knowledge, from my own side. I think for me, it will help the student and the business as well to grow the skill of the young person, and also to explore and develop the young person, and it also give the business a good image for hiring for in-service training for a young person.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to speak from my side. Me, as I'm doing the in-service training here at Amathuba Collective, so far I've grown my communication skill so far, and I've also gained more computer proficiency, and I've also gained a team working experience and skill.
Thanks so much, Zinzi. And onto that very, the practical kind of side of what it looks like in practice. Emmanuel, based on your experiences at Dreamworkers, what are the factors that you think help to make a work integrated learning experience a success? And as a follow-up, can you give us maybe a success story that you can share of a business who has benefited from hosting a learner in these types of experiences?
Thank you again, Kristal and the team. A few factors to look at that would actually make a work integrated learning experience a success. Number one, readiness. And the readiness I'm talking about needs to come from both parties. The student themselves need to be ready, knowing that it's going to be a transition moment. They're moving away from just a classroom setup, where the learning might have been routine and someone-like, into a workspace where self-leadership, self-discipline are expected. So the student needs to be ready. Secondly, the company also needs to be ready in terms of the environment to actually bring on board new people that are coming in as inexperienced, as young, and sometimes they might need some help from time to time. And remember that some environments are high pressure, fast paced. Guys have got deadlines to meet, and sometimes they may feel like they don't have time to be babysitting someone else. So it's going to be that particular element of readiness for the environment to say, you know what, let's bring someone on board, and then commitment to say we'll make it work. And then the company on the side need to make provisions. The provision I'm talking about is the human capacity. They need to be able to say, here's someone to be able to look after this particular section. When new people are coming in, for them to be properly onboarded and looked after and supported. And then, at a certain point, taken by the hand from point to point until they can find their, what we call the voice, where you'll be able to say, you know what, I'm home here. I can speak, I can do this, I can ask questions without the fear of being marginalized, judged, or victimized. And then the company also has to make provisions in terms of the resources. Learners or students would come in from not even knowing what's needed in a workspace. Only the company knows what they'll need from you as a person coming in. So a company needs to be able to provide that. And finally, one major factor is inclusion. Once students go into a workplace, they need to feel included. They need to feel that they are part of the process, they are part of the organization, they are part of ownership of whatever services they are delivering or help deliver for the organization. Because once they are made to feel like they are interns, they don't matter. Once they are actually put in a certain box out of, you are not part of us, that actually compromises the entire integrity of the program. Because students are going to do what they do, but half-heartedly, because they realize that, you know what, I don't matter here. And it's going to be important for companies to feel that, you know what, you are part of us fully. A few success stories I'll mention here. It's Bank Sita, Vodacom, and Chieta. And you can see that these are different. Two are Citas, and then one is just pure corporate. And they've had students that we placed with them, and they molded them, they mentored them, and they gave them opportunities. And when we interacted with the students post their placement period, and we gave some of them opportunities after they've gotten their diplomas in other workspaces. We found that the contribution by the companies or the stated companies has actually made a notable contribution in their journey. These guys are now work ready, they understand self-discipline, they get a brief and they run with the job. And basically that's what companies want as someone coming in. And then with the willingness of companies to take on students and prepare them, that means when we're talking about work readiness, the students at the end of their program, they are now work ready. They are able to actually get into a workspace and then deliver. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Emmanuel. And important points, because I think, you know, many of us were young a long time ago. I am older than I look. So I think we forget what it can be like on that first job experience, and to feel overwhelmed and out of your depth and like you don't belong. And I think all that you're saying around creating that space for young people to find ownership and believe in the business and feel like they're contributing to it, and that they want to invest in it and they want what's best for the business, is going to drive a good work integrated learning experience for both the young person as well as the host. And I think that what you're saying is really important. So I just wanted to take a second to just reflect on the poll that we launched a little earlier. And apologies, we have some technical issues launching the actual poll. So we did it old school and just asked you for the comments. But we asked how confident you were with your knowledge about youth unemployment incentives. And I think most people said somewhat confident, and there were a few not confident at all answers. And so I think this kind of discussion today will hopefully go ways to moving people from the somewhat confident to the very confident realm, and maybe we really hope the conversations continue amongst those on the call beyond just this hour discussion. So we have got another poll, which I'm going to launch now. We've spoken about the benefits a little bit now. So I'd just be interested to know from the audience today, have you used any of the benefits that we've spoken about? So I think that poll will be launched now. And while everybody's doing that, Zinzi, I'm going to come back to you. Can you just break it down for us? How do work integrated learning programs work? You know, what do businesses have to do to start a work integrated learning program? Zinzi?
Can you please repeat that for me? Sorry.
I wanted us to get into the nitty-gritties of the work integrated learning learning program. You know, how do they work? What do businesses have to do to start a work integrated learning program? Zinzi, can you hear me? I think Zinzi's having some problems. Sorry. Emily, can you fill in that? Sorry.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
You're sorry, Zinzi. That question.
Go ahead, Zinzi.
Yeah, go for it.
Can I talk? Yes. Emily?
Yes. Go ahead.
Can you please take that one from me?
Zinzi can go afterwards. Okay. Sorry.
Afterwards.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we are focusing on placing young people in small businesses particularly, and I do think that the hand-holding that Emmanuel also alluded to is key here. You need to provide support on the student side as well as on the host side, and I think a lot of the challenges for small businesses to host young people is the day-to-day management, the operational, because young people don't just need to be given instructions to do the work, but be coached and mentored along the way. And a lot of the small businesses don't have the capacity. So our proposal is to support on both sides and have a third party doing that, so that the host and the small business really can benefit, not just in the labor that you spoke to, but really in a young person who's showing initiative, who's being proactive, who can drive parts of the business with a different mindset and a different skill set than a lot of the traditional businesses have. So I think that the benefits can be incredibly big on the host side if the supports are in place. And Emmanuel spoke about the readiness, and I think the ongoing the ongoing coaching is key here. So building capacity, adding that capacity to small businesses will increase the benefits tremendously. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. And then over to you, Zinzi, with what your experience has been as somebody who's gone through this process of completing your practical with a business. You know, what made it a good experience for you? What do you think helped you kind of really benefit from the experience? You're on mute, Zinzi. There we go.
Okay, thank you. I think so far, I think that if ever companies can accept us and support us on getting in service, because like Amathuba did for me, because I've been struggling a lot to get in service training. I think if ever they can support us and accept us without asking for an experience, because experience is hard to get. If ever you're coming out from school, then you obviously have zero experience, then we are looking for a job or in service, obviously. I think if they can do that for us, because so far, I finished my tertiary in 2019, and so far I've gained so much experience at Amathuba Collective, I can say. Yes, and I did a lot, even though I've had so many challenges, but so far I've done so much and I've done great. In a short space of time, because I started here in April, yes, in 1st of April, yes. Yes.
You had quite a few months to get acquainted with the work.
Pardon?
I said you've had quite a few months to get settled. Yes. Yeah. And just on that, thanks for sharing your experience, Zinzi. You know, just the results from the poll, speaking about the benefits, we had about half the people on the call, just under half, so 45%, saying that they have used some of the benefits mentioned. You know, about 20% saying they've been planning to for a while. So we hope that the conversation today kind of gets you excited about doing that. And maybe some expertise will make you feel a little bit less nervous about starting the process. And then we have about 36% saying that they haven't used any of the benefits mentioned here today. So we hope maybe the conversation today will change your mind on that. To you, Emmanuel, when making the decision on whether you think you should host a young person, now we spoke a little bit about creating the environment for the young person to come and get their work integrated learning experience at the company. But what are some of the things that companies should consider about what they have in place, you know, to make them ready for it, I guess, especially to those on the call who are maybe thinking about it and have been thinking about it but haven't gotten around to it. I think this is some insight they could really benefit from.
Thanks again, Kristal. You know, sometimes we understand that business is about making profits. However, in today's journey and the economic settings, it is important for companies to start thinking about giving back, and then in more ways than just the traditional way of a CSI and a big program with some newspaper guys or TV, you know, and anything that is like headlines or trending. And it is how we've seen it. Consider adding value in the journey of a student, and that student becomes someone of a major influence in the near future. And it all starts with a company opening its doors. You don't have a burden most of the time of the salary or a huge amount that you need to pay. Accommodate this particular student, give them the exposure that they need, mentor, support, and let them grow into the best person they possibly can be. And who knows, they might be the CEO of the very same company you guys are currently running, and he might save it by being innovative and bringing some new energies. And secondly, you've got the CSI program, which is an event kind of a thing. So if companies can have that lifestyle or that culture within themselves to say, on a daily basis, what is it that you are doing to put a smile on someone's face? And if that means taking on a student or 2 students or 3 students, and that particular appetite to say, our doors are always open, come in, let's help you. I think that's going to be very important, because once you start focusing on being able to give as a company, you know what the universal law says. If you give, you get blessed. And you know, in business, when you give, the blessings are usually the equivalent of profits. Indirectly, without even knowing that you've done this good deed, suddenly there's this other new clients that are interested in working with you. Or when the youngster is in your organization, they start talking to others about, I'm here. And suddenly, for some reason, something good starts happening to the company. So guys, what I'm saying is, the main decision here is start opening up to give opportunities to the young students for their journey.
Thanks so much, Emmanuel. But we know that things always completely smooth. We know that we all have some teething problems, especially if you're doing this for the first time, or you haven't done it before as a business. And so back to you, Emily, you know, what are some of the roadblocks in your experience, or potential roadblocks of implementing a work integrated learning program at your business?
So I think overall the challenges are that young people don't know where to start looking for host businesses. From our experience, having come across a lot of students who've completed the 18 months classroom training at the college, and they are now asked to gain the work experience, they don't know where to start looking for a host. They don't have the experience to approach potential employers and businesses and say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is what I need from you. They might come across a little uncertain and unsure, and maybe are perceived unprofessional. So businesses shy away from hosting them because they feel that's additional work. That's the second thing. The hosts are just not prepared. They are not ready. So not knowing where to look, businesses not feeling confident that they can host and really gain benefits from the young person. And then I think also just the traveling costs. If the students don't get financial support to achieve or to reach their hosts, how will they pay for traveling to their hosts? So I think there are multiple challenges in there's not enough capacity on the college's side to support the student, and there's not enough information and support on the business's side to really develop the young person. So I think there are multiple challenges that we need to address. But if we manage to do that collectively for the businesses, we spoke about the talent pipeline. What are all the trades businesses going to do if they don't develop new skills to do whether it's woodwork or metalwork or boiler making or whatever it is, mechanics? They need the skills to grow into their business. And hosting young people with the capacity to really develop and mentor them means that you are developing relevant skills for your business, so your business can grow and you can create new employment opportunities. And I think we do need to start at various ends of the ecosystem to support collectively and build the scaffolding. We can't just rely on the college to do that. We can't just expect the student to know what to do, and we can't expect the small businesses in particular to have the capacity to mentor and support. So I think we need to come together and really structure this the program holistically to make this work. But if we do, the benefits to the country and the economy as a whole will be tremendous.
Absolutely, Emily, and you know, I say this all the time. I think as businesses, small to medium to large across South Africa, really need to start thinking about what does the future of South Africa look like? What are your business prospects in South Africa 20 years from now if we don't get young people on a pipeline to a sustainable livelihood with money in their pockets to spend on your business? And so, as you say, we need to invest. We're not going to be around for forever. We need to equip young people to take over from us in whatever our area of business is. And I think thinking about the work integrated learning experience as part of that investment is so key. Emmanuel, from your experience, do you want, I'm sure that Emily's covered some of it, but is there anything you'd like to add, that businesses typically find challenging when trying to run these work integrated learning programs?
Thanks again, Kristal. There are numerous challenges. When I spoke earlier about willingness and readiness and that element of commitment, in some businesses, because remember that some businesses have been around for quite some time and students are coming in, you find the intergenerational issues are starting to come at play. You find an old Magogo, your Generation X, and you find a Generation Z coming to work in the same space with different work ethics, experiences, and then you start finding territorial employees, guys that says, I don't want students in my space simply because they are lazy, they don't want to work. Already you come into a space where there are prejudices such as that have been formed and maybe nurtured over the years, and you find students that are not prepared for the workplace that come with their old habits in the workspace. And an example, we've noticed that a lot of our young students, they either focus heavily on makeup in terms of how they look physically, down to forgetting the aesthetics that are actually needed for you to be functional in the workspace. Secondly, they are so much gadget orientated. They are mostly on their tablets, on their phone. And for older generations, that is annoying when you're talking to someone and they're busy playing on their phone. Those kind of things, they start creating animosities. They create camps in the workplace. And those are some of the things when we prepare students to go into workspaces to say, guys, please remember it's a journey and there are certain things you need to actually get rid of. Some of those are actually habits you can work out and then be a fit in terms of the company culture. And the other challenge becomes the non-buy-in from the ground soldiers. If work integrated learning program is not sold very well from the senior management, the ground people that need to look after the interns and the students and hold them by hand and show them this and show them that, while senior management is breathing down their necks, it becomes very difficult, very, very difficult. And it's going to take understanding and some planning in place so that there's a win-win for everyone. When we know that we've got interns coming in and we know that manager X is busy looking after this particular interns because they are directly in his line of work, there's some slack we need to cut these guys, because you find that you even forget that you've given this guy an extra responsibility. And that makes the employee anti-students coming into the space, because management doesn't care if you've got students here and things are not moving as fast as they should. And certain quality issues might actually slip through the cracks. And finally, the other challenge becomes the work culture. Sometimes companies focus on busy, 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 profit, 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 and they forget to build work cultures that can nurture succession. And once a company forgets about succession, then they don't build a culture that can nurture newcomers coming in, regardless of the generation they are from. And they are not explicit. And that's where you find camps and camps. The water cooler talk guys that are talking by the copier, or guys that are outside smoking and talking behind the others' backs. And that particular culture become a culture that is a bit hostile, where you come in as a newcomer, a student for that matter, no work experience at all, and you don't know which camp to belong to. Yes, you belong to this guy, but you are a non-smoker. You like the guys at the water cooler. Where do you go? Because if you go this side, now you are an enemy of the guys that are going on a smoke break. So those are some of those particular challenges when companies don't explicitly work on the culture, remembering that the company's lifespan is usually beyond the employees that are currently there. You see, so that's just in short for me, and for the sake of time, I think I'll cut it right there. Otherwise, I'll open up more verses from my Bible.
We love hearing the verses from your Bible, Emmanuel, and I think, you know, I think we are all singing from the same hymn sheet, in that we've got to think about the businesses being beyond the us and those of us who are here now, or, you know, maybe the managers of the current business model, because you want your business to survive you, right? You want it to have longevity. And as you say, for that to happen, you need to create a culture that's sustainable and is healthy for everybody, including the young person who's coming to join you in their first kind of work experience. And so maybe over to you, Zinzi. What have been some of the challenges for you as a young person stepping into a business for the first time? You know, what has made it enjoyable for you? You know, some specific things that you think businesses can do to make it more enjoyable for the young person, or and naming some of the challenges that you faced and maybe how those were navigated.
Okay. Some of the challenges that I've had in my workplace is to work under pressure and how to fit in and be part of the new culture that I'm working in now. At first, it was a bit frustrating by the time I was starting to work here, but as time goes on, I started to adapt and be able to work as a team. Yes. And the positive experience that I had already on my working under pressure, for now, I've been able to grow and how to maintain my self-control and to be able to work productive.
And Zinzi, you know, maybe to that experience, do you have other friends or colleagues, you know, have also gone through this work integrated learning experience? You know, maybe some other challenges that they face, practical things around, you know, getting to work every day or having family responsibilities at home, and now you've got to be at work. You know, personal things. I think it would be good for businesses to understand, you know, from a young person's point of view, you know, your life outside of that business and how that affects how you show up in that business on a daily basis.
I can't say I have friends who've also encountered the same. I do have friends, but they are currently not looking for a job. They're already working. And for them, they've been struggling to get it. The one that I've been studying with, they're also looking for in service. It's been hard for them to get in service because we finished doing our N6 in 2019 and they're still searching. And me, I already got my N6, my in-service, sorry, this year. And it's very hard, man. It's very hard.
Thanks, Zinzi. I think it's important, you know, for businesses to understand, as I said, the realities from young people's point of view. And I think it sounds like you're having a really great experience, but I think that, you know, it's not always the case for a lot of young people going into these experiences, especially in businesses that maybe don't understand those challenges. So I think I just wanted to, understand from you what those challenges can look like if the host business isn't, you know, fully aware of what the challenges are. If you want to add anything.
There's nothing I want to add.
Okay, thanks.
I can't hear you. You're on mute.
I'm on mute. Thanks, Zinzi. It's my turn to make the classic Zoom mistake. Thanks for that. So I just want to remind everybody to please send through their questions on the chat. And I see a question has come through. So it's the question is, we've been running an organization whereby we train candidates in software development, A+ and admin, and help with interview prep and internship placements. Now the question is, could an organization like ourselves get support from organizations such as Yes for Youth? How do you try and involve such organizations for help? was a question from somebody on the chat. I don't know, Emily, maybe you could answer that question.
Well, I think this conversation focuses particularly on supporting students with a TVET backgrounds to get their work integrated learning. But I do think linking their work placements to programs like Yes, All Learnerships makes a lot of sense, because that way you would get the stipends. You're enabling the students to travel to their workplace, earn a stipend, and thus really allow them to become an employee that is not a burden to the business, to the host, but gain work experience while they're being paid for a year, and enabling the business to grow in that instance as well. So an organization like that, if you can provide relevant practice or relevant experience to the TVET course or qualifications, you can certainly become a host and apply for Yes funding through one of their implementation partners to host a Yes youth who's also a former TVET student. And this is the case for Zinzi as well, by the way.
Thanks so much, Emily, and thanks for that question coming through. I've got a question for Simone, and then we're going to go to kind of closing comments. So yeah, please get those questions in. Simone, how can we better support businesses looking to implement work integrated learning programs? What support do businesses need, from government or from other places in order to have a good hosting experience?
Yeah, thanks, Kristal. I think firstly, and this is something we've kind of discovered in conversations with various SMEs in particular, and I'm putting together the skills development toolkits, we need to be far more proactive in how we are getting information about these programs to small businesses in particular, and in a way that's kind of accessible and digestible. As we all know, they are under serious capacity constraints. A lot of small businesses are currently just in survival mode. Expecting them to, I think, go out and make sense of what is quite a complicated landscape, and can be quite a complicated landscape on their own, I think means we're missing a lot of opportunities potentially for organizations to host. I think this point that Zinzi spoke to earlier about, for a lot of young people, their qualification depends on these experiences, on these hosting experiences. And so we're not essentially only talking about youth employment here, we're talking about the skills of it, upskilling the current cohort of young people who are trying to get a qualification. And so if we don't have businesses aware of these programs and of how they can get involved and of what the benefit is to them for doing so, we're not just at risk of having a youth unemployment problem, but also of a whole lot of young people who are underqualified because they aren't able to finish their qualifications. I think, as Emmanuel and Emily have said, and I'm sure they would be able to share, stories for hours on the types of issues and challenges that they face on a daily basis to make these programs work effectively. And I think that's often overlooked. Again, in a corporate environment, there are the resources, there is the HR capacity to work on things like creating a nurturing culture for succession, to make sure that you have a structured way in how you develop and onboard young people coming into the business. In one of my first jobs at a big corporate, there was a 6-day induction program. We had 2 days talking about dress code and how to carry yourself in the office professionally. And small businesses simply don't have the capacity, the time, the resources to do that type of work. And so I think organizations like Amathuba, like Dreamworker, are just bringing such an essential service to make these things actually work effectively, because the mechanisms that are in place currently are great to enable the business to basically access a young person. But once a young person walks through the door, to make that experience a success requires a lot of work and expertise that most small businesses actually just don't have capacity for. In our conversation with SMEs, when putting together the SME report, which we can share again here, one organization had to cancel 4 learnerships halfway through because it just wasn't working, and there was so much animosity created between the young person and the business. And that's a huge cost, not just for the business, but for those 4 young people who now don't have a qualification. And so to avoid that loss of potential, that lose-lose situation, I think we do need more organizations and like Amathuba and like Dreamworker, who can provide that kind of support. Not just the TVETs, not just on the young person, and not just on the business. But as I mentioned, I think also, sharing what is available with businesses in a far more proactive way, I think is really essential as well.
Great, thanks so much, Simone. Tina, I'm coming over to you. I see you have a hand raised with a question for the panelists. Please go for it.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. This has been very interesting. I can really resonate with a lot of Zinzi's experience. I also started as an intern about 2 years ago and went on to become a full-time consultant. And I have a couple of, one comment on something and then just 2 questions, as I'm working for the company, I'm a lot more, it's a small company, so I'm not just focused on the output or projects. I'm also involved in the building of the organization itself. Hence, I'm here because I need to find strategy as well for my company, which is a great opportunity also for young people, and a very, very, I would say, a great opportunity to get young people involved in more than just qualitative analysis or writing reports, but how do you run a company and to think broader about the workspace. Anyway, getting to my comment, the first one is what Emmanuel said about, there's too much focus on makeup and so on for the young people. I had a little bit of an experience like that. I think we should teach our young people to cultivate their own professional look, whether it means that they like to look a certain way, put their hair, wear high heels. That's how they establish who they are in a professional setting. And I did have a challenge with kind of people commenting on like, oh, Tina, you always look really nice. I'm like, yeah, because this is what I want to look like. This is how I embody being a professional, and we embody it quite differently, including wearing, jewelry and this and that and that. And also on the other hand, for other people, they can't afford, they can't show up in very nice clothing. So to create a culture whereby you can show up as exactly as who you are, whether you show up in golf t-shirt or you show up in a nice pencil skirt, whatever, that's part of your professional look. The second thing that I think we should also, when we think about the cultural organization, Emmanuel, you mentioned something about intergenerational, and I'm sorry, I'm not picking on you at all, but that really resonated, and I wanted to add race and gender dynamics. Companies that they need to be able to be prepared for and have a clear understanding of how does race fit into our organization and what is our stance on it, whether it's transformation. And then there's gender dynamics. How can we prepare a young woman, who might not necessarily be so vocal when it comes to either putting out ideas to an older senior or an older manager or a male manager. So you want to create those spaces as a company, you want to create those spaces that from a race point or gender dynamic where there's a lot of inequalities, you can express yourself and be who you are. And now to get to my 2 questions that I have. Retention challenges. Oftentimes we find really great candidates and we want to keep them, but they don't stay for long. Like we want to keep them for up until they're at a director level or a very senior kind of level. But young people move around. How do you invest so much? Also, you invest into the talent pool in South Africa, but you also want to invest in the talent pool of your own company. How do you balance that and keep them in the company? And then the second question I have is, often small businesses, including the one that I work for, Palmer Development Group, we don't know where to look for young people. We really struggle. We have a full year paid internship, one of the highest paid internships that I've ever come across. But when we send out, marketing is very, very expensive. But when we send out through LinkedIn or wherever we can, we really struggle to get in what we call the right room of finding young people that are looking for experience, that are looking to grow themselves. Where do we get them? How, like, I mean, I have an advert sitting in my downloads right now for a 1-year internship for my company, and I'm tempted to pop it in the chat box just to share with everyone. So I hope that's okay. But yeah, those are the two questions that I have in the comments. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thanks, Tina. Emily, do you maybe want to jump in, and then Emmanuel to respond? Emmanuel, you want to go first? You look very enthusiastic. Okay, I'm going to let Emmanuel go first.
Thank you very much for the question. And honestly, I think that's where most companies actually miss it. And when I spoke earlier about the culture, because we don't invest much on the culture, we end up not even investing much to know our people. And then aligning our people to our vision, meaning attract the type of personalities that you know they'll want to stay here because of where the company is going. We had an exercise like this where we brought in interns into a company in Cape Town, LRMG, and the interns, when I spoke to the managers in terms of what exactly do they want and what do they see with these particular interns coming in, and they're like, no, we don't want to do things the old way. We want new energies, we want new ideas. And I say, okay, so that means you want innovators. And you know that innovators, these are guys that don't want boredom. These guys want the ideas to be embraced, experiments to be conducted. These are guys that want energy in an environment. And if you stifle their energy and innovation, you're going to lose them. They're going to go. So where's the company going? We start there. And then what kind of people can actually be there to take this company there for 10, 20, 30 years to come? And then you start doing those particular alignments. I mean, organizations such as Dreamworker, we've placed more than 80,000 people in different workspaces across various industries, and we've seen different scenarios. And it's a very simple conversation that will actually help an organization to clarify its expectations when they're bringing in new people on board. And in that particular conversation and process, it's a very simple thing, but it has got huge implications for the future and the retention of the particular talent we have. And as a result, we've developed a platform called Dream Exchange. It's a web portal where we've got host employers and we've got potential guys seeking for opportunities that are actually interacting with each other, where people can go where they feel they are a match. And basically that's it, my sister. I hope my contribution makes sense.
I think that was
Thank
great.
you, Emmanuel. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Emily, do you want to add anything?
Yes, I love what Emmanuel says about creating that dialogue. You as a host, as a potential employer, you want to get to know your young people, and with that, you create that identification with part of the company culture, and then if they really feel like they're committed and they feel like they're adding value and they're growing within the company, then you're more likely to be able to retain them afterwards, and that would be a beautiful problem to have. You're looking for skills, you can invest in a young person, and you invest in them holistically, not just in their technical skills, but in their personal growth. And with that, they then identify themselves as part of your company, and with that, you're likely to retain them. And I think that's exactly that. You need to have a dialogue. You need to manage expectations. You need to get to know each other. You need to figure out, what is it that makes each of us tick, and where can we add value to each other as parties. And I think that's really where the secret, where the magic lies. If you are making an effort to get to know a young person, then you get the best out of them, and you get the best out of your business too.
Tapile, I see your hand is up. We've got 5 minutes left, so if I can ask you to keep your question quite short. I want to give the panelists a chance to wrap up, but I just want to give you a chance to just ask your question, Tapile. We can hear you, go for it.
I didn't have a question. I just wanted to say that Zinzi is my intern, and I was one of those people that did not want an intern for all the reasons that Emmanuel stated. I started working in the banks, and I worked for a long time in the Free State, and we've got very rigid ideas of how people in the workplace should behave. I'm not that old, I'm 43, but I think I'm 88 years old in my mindset. And I've learned quite a few things from the interns. And I'm actually sad that there's not a lot of companies here. I think it would have been a good thing for them to be here and to learn. I mean, I've learned the difference between highlighter and blush. Now I know where to wear what. I've learned the difference between coffin nails and almond nails. And I'm learning a whole different aspect of what human resource is about. And I have Zinzi and the other interns that I work with to thank for that. So it is definitely a good thing. And I'm looking forward to working with more interns in the future.
Thanks so much for sharing your experience, Tubile. I think it's so great to hear from somebody who's gone through it. And not to worry, this recording will live on the interwebs. So our experience is people do come and watch it later. So I'm sure that this will reach some ears that need to hear what you've just said. So just in closing, because we are running out of time, Zinzi, just some last comments from you. Is there any advice, one thing that you'd like the audience to consider when thinking about the benefits we discussed and when thinking about hosting a young person? Just one piece of advice you'd give them as a young person yourself.
All right. I think if you have an open communication between interns and employees, I think it's always a great start to have an open communication between the intern and the employee.
Thanks so much, Zinzi. Emily, over to you. One piece of advice that you'd want to give the audience, and then also just in closing, where can people find you, your business handle, etc., so that people know where to get in touch with you after today's chat.
The piece of advice that I have is really to be open and curious, because we really, as I said earlier, you get the best out of people if you see them as a person and you meet them where they are. You pick them up where they are and you handhold them into their journey of holistic development. I think, yeah, be curious and open-minded and meet your young people where they are. They are fantastic, energetic, creative young people in South Africa, and I think we need to really harness their energy more and better. I think creating spaces for young people to thrive in that way will create new opportunities and really help businesses to thrive as well. So helping our young people grow will help our businesses grow as well. We are Amathuba Collective. We have a website, we are on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and find us on LinkedIn, and for young people they can apply online on our website, and so can businesses who want to host young people, and we are there to support, to guide you in the journey so that not all the burden is with the business, and it's financed through the private sector, through BE, so there's no costs for the hosts either.
Thanks so much, Emily. And I think an important takeaway is that this learning goes both ways. Don't see it as you only just teaching young people, but accept that you're going to do some learning along the way. I think Tubile spoke to that beautifully now at the end. Emmanuel, from Dreamworker, one piece of advice you would give, and then just where people can find out more about you and your work.
The company organization Dreamworker, we all have dreams, that one day this or one day that. And we are all saying to everyone here, guys, let today be day one for that dream that we all have, whether we are an organization or as individuals. Let us dream higher and let us have a culture of giving ourselves to opportunities to contribute or to learn all the time. Let us be ready for that so that we don't become offensive within the marketplace or take any offenses. So let us just be ready as you know, vessels to learn or to give and make someone's life better. And as dream worker, that's exactly what we are saying, to say the people's economy, there's enough for everyone. Let's just avail ourselves to give or to receive. And let's go out there. Let's not sit back and cry and toy. You know, I don't know. I just hold different views on some things. But basically, I'm optimistic to say the future looks bright when we give it our best.
Thanks, Emmanuel. And then to Simone, one piece of advice from you, and yeah, where people can find out a bit more about JobStarter.
Yeah, I guess, again, as everyone has said, just to really explore what is available. I think, I mean, at JobStarter, and I know, you know, Youth Capital kind of share the sentiment, we believe that a lot of the solutions to some of the most pressing issues related to youth unemployment already exist. There are pockets of excellence, there are examples of success, and a big intention with this webinar series is to showcase those and create connections between people doing this incredible work, and where we can also provide tools and support to help businesses find out more. In our toolkit that we've shared, there is a slide on different resources that you can access as a business if you want to find out more, and that we do highly recommend. It is worth speaking to professionals in this space. And yeah, I just think it's a really potentially exciting opportunity for businesses, and yeah, we look forward to hosting more of these discussions. So thanks for having us, and thanks so much for everyone on the panel from JobStarter's side as well. It's been so great.
Thanks everyone. And just to remind everybody on the call that we host these once a month. We'd love to hear from you on topics you think we could cover, on people you think you'd love to hear from. You know, we really want the space to be for businesses to come and figure out how can we employ young people, how can we create these opportunities in a way that's beneficial for ourselves as a business as well as the young person. How do we make these experiences really matter for young people, and then, you know, more broadly for society. So please do send your experiences, your success stories, your questions, your ideas around what we can use this space for. We love to hear from you. And then, you know, two last things I want to leave you with is Simone has shared the PDF as well, and we've shared the link again for JobStarter's report and their toolkit. And so you can find that in the link, and that's probably going to be useful. And then Youth Capital is very excited to be launching our annual publication Shift on the 28th of October, and you can that event as well in the chat. We're very excited because we feature Amathuba in there as a success story, because again, we really like to feature the solutions and focus on the solutions and not the problem so much, and what that looks like in practice. So we'd love to see you all join us there. And please do get in touch with us on social media. Thank you everybody for your time, and yeah, please tell your friends and colleagues about this series and invite them to join the next one. And thanks to my panelists for being so great today and for your wealth of experience. Have a good rest of your day, everyone.